Hello everyone, welcome back. In this video I'm gonna finish the drawing for line of balance, explain the details that we need in the drawing. If you remember, we said the first thing is to find some values which are indicated in red here, theoretical Gantt size. We said those are numbers that according to the rate of the build we'll find it. Then we'll change those to actual gang size by using an information that we need, which is man per operation, which is 4 person required. So those values here will be multiplication of men per hour, multiple of those values. So this is 8.25. We'll say 8, the closest to multiple of 4, which is 4, 8, 12. For example, for 8 there will be 8, 16, 32. So 24 and then 24 is the closest one. Multiple of 5, 5, 10, 15. So 3.75 closest to 5. This will be the actual gang size. Then we said natural rate of build. Since we said we needed 8.25% to have this rate 6 units per week, when you change the rate will change. So you're going to find a natural rate, and then we'll find the day with that much people, for example 8 people that we have it, and how many working hours per day we have it, and how much day this is per week, 40 hours per week. We can find this is daily basically because we're working hour per day. Then we'll find the duration because we need 55 hours to finish this operation here. Then with this much people we're using, and then this will be the value, 2 days required to finish. We said those values when they come out we'll always make sure they will be integer and we'll increase them. Then we're going to find another value S, which is the difference between the start of the first unit to the start of the last unit. If you remember, we said line of balance will be used for repetitive work. We have 124 units to be built. So the start, if the first operation start is 0, the 124th unit start will be 106. So it will be 106 days before the difference between the first unit start to the last unit start, and so on. We said those values as well, you can increase them to closest integer. We need those to be integers. Now, in order to draw the graph, we said we need a buffer time 2 days, and we'll start with the activities relation. Remember, activities relation are very important here. So for this example, those activities are coming after each other. Yeah, those are after each other. So one cannot be done unless the other one has finished. This is important. I was going to tell you at the end what will happen. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 activities. So they are coming after each other. Keep this one in mind because this will be a key point in the drawing line of balance, that those activities, if they are after each other, they shall not cut in the line of balance. But if they are not after each other, they are parallel, it's okay to have multiple activities. Like on the diagram, they will cut each other. Remember, the easiest form to present this, it's arrow diagram. We said that in order to do this, diagram, line of balance, we need an arrow diagram in order to understand the relation. Look at here, like for example, you can say A, B, C, D, E. Those operations, they come after each other. So it means that one will finish, then the next one will start. If the relation is not like this, the diagram can have multi-lines. We'll discuss what does that mean. So we will start with the first operation, which is excavation. We said starting of the project. We will start with a paper like this. At the vertical side we have the units, 124 units. On the horizontal side we have days. Now for the days you don't know how much you need. Why? Because with a table here it's not clear exactly how many days it's required to finish this project, which consists of 124 units of an insulator. So we'll start with 0. Which one we need? We said the operations, the name of them basically, their duration, there's a duration, and the elapsed time between the start and the first activity, unit. We have it here. So start with 0. Now we said that on the line of balance each activity will be represented as a box. The box has an inclination, so we start with 0. This is 0. Now we said the first thing we'll use is S, the relation between the start of the first unit to the start of the 124 unit. The difference between them 106. So it means that if 0 is the start for the first operation of first unit, then 106 will be the start of the last unit. So you have to find 106 somewhere from here. If I can, if those are, so if this is 96, 100, 102, 104, 106, this will be 106. The detailing will be a bit. So this will be this is not the line, but this point here for me it's important. This is the start of the 124th unit, because there's 160 difference elapsed between the first unit and the last unit. So the line we will be drawing it will start from 0, the first line, start from 0, and it will be connected to this point here, because this is 106. So this is the first one. This is the first one, goes to 106 here. Now after doing the first line, what will you do? We use the duration. Now I'm no longer need this line here. We need the duration. The duration is what? We said this activity, this operation, this is the duration, time per operation is 2 days. So it doesn't matter for which unit this activity you're doing it, still need 2 days. So I will draw a second line which will have 2 days difference between them. I mean a parallel to the first line with 2 day difference. This is, or you can see it from here. If this is 0, the starting, if 0 is the starting date here, 2 will be the finishing day, because it takes 2 days to finish this activity. Imagine it in this way. This is for the first unit. The first unit, 2 days. You have the same thing for the second unit, and the third, and the fourth, and the fifth, and the sixth unit. Every unit, since it's a repetitive work, they have the same operation, and the same operation takes how many days? 2 days for each unit. That's why it's parallel. Remember, the box that we have it here should be 2 days thickness, which indication of the duration of the project. The duration of the activity. In this manner, we finish the first one. Now, after the first one, there are some information we need to have to continue for the other one. So it's preferable to have this one kind of closed this manner. This will be 1. Now this is excavation, whatever the operation. Now comes after excavation foundation. Let's say foundation is the second activity, comes after here. So it depends on the first activity. Remember, if they were not if they were independent, let's say the second activity, this foundation was here, could start at the beginning, we would do the same thing for that activity. If we start from 0, we will draw the line till 123, and the duration is 2 days. We'll give 2 days and draw the second parallel line. But here, since they come after each other, so we will relate this foundation to the excavation. Now, between those operation, we have buffer time, 2 days. So in a line of balance, there will be another drawing like this, another box kind of like this, an inclined box. But the difference or the distance between those two, the minimum spacing between them should be 2 days, which we call it buffer time here. Now, sometimes buffer time is 5 days. So whatever the buffer time is, you have to provide minimum that much day between the two drawing here. Now, what does that mean? It means if this here, we already know how much this one is. We already know this is 100. This is 106. And it's going to be 108 here. Now, the next activity, minimum supposed to be somewhere here. Why? Because minimum, it has to leave this distance, 2 days here. So the top of the second operation should be here, minimum. It can be here, remember, it can be here, but minimum 2 days. It cannot be before. At the same time, at the bottom, I'm supposed to have the same thing. At the bottom, I should have the same thing. The same thing, minimum at the bottom, I'm supposed to have 2 days. So for it's the minimum or the earliest start time, we can say, the earliest start time. Well, in line of balance, there is 2 methods to do this one. I mean, there's 2 probabilities. Now, in order to understand these probabilities, we have to know rate of build. Now, rate of build, before going into the drawing, it expresses the way that the line is standing. If rate of build is high, then the line will go to vertical. Remember this one, please. If rate of build is low, it means the line will come to horizontal manner. This rate of build information will provide us an insight whether to start from the bottom or start from the top. Because we could draw from the top to the bottom or from the bottom to top. It's possible. Why? Because we have the difference between the top and the bottom, which is considered as S. Now, why we have to know this one? If the rate of build of the second operation is higher than the first operation, and if you start from the bottom, you will have problem at the top. What do I mean by this? If this is a line here, imagine this is a line. If I have another activity, similar rate of build, what will happen? Exactly will be parallel, yes? Okay, exactly will be parallel. Now, let's say, imagine we provide how many days between them? 1, 2, 3, 4 days. If they have the same rate of build, if 4 days at the bottom, 4 days will be at the top. If the rate of build is less than, what will happen? look, less than, it will be more to horizontal, yes? At the bottom you have 4 day, at the top you have more than 4 day. But if the rate of build for the second operation, which is, look, which is depend on the first operation. So if it is higher than the first operation rate of build, what will happen when we draw at the bottom? If I provide 4 days, at the top I will not have 4 days. So what we have to do, we have to move this one minimum 4 days. So we will top, on the top will provide 4 days, but at the bottom will be more. So if I repeat this one in the simplest manner, providing buffer time has two methods, whether you provide from the bottom or you provide from the top. Now you can try to provide from the bottom, and the top, if it's less than the minimum, the buffer time, you know that it's wrong, then you can provide from the top and it will draw back to down. Or, so with trial you can do it, or if you compare the natural rate of the activities, and if the activity you're going to draw has a lower natural rate than the one that it depends on, you can start from the bottom. If the natural rate is higher than the one that it depends on, you'll start from the top. So I'm going to show you, this is, just keep it in mind. It will be easier when we see in the drawing what will happen if I don't follow this information. Let's say I don't know this information, or I want to try to see what will happen. We'll start with the second operation. Second operation, look, natural rate of build is 5, so it's smaller than this one, we will not face any problem. But for the third one, we'll face a problem. 5. We know the duration is 2, and the elapsed time between the first to the last is 123. Remember, this is the line. With the line we're drawing it from the bottom to the top, the difference between the start and the end will be 123 unit difference. So the second activity depends on the first activity, so it will not start from 0. This activity finished at 2, let's say talking about the first unit, finished at 2, plus the 2 days of buffer time. So the minimum, or the earliest starting time for this activity, which is foundation, will be 4. This is clear from the bottom because we leave 2 days, so minimum 4. Now remember, this is 4. How do I find the top point there? I saw this one from a lot of students. The top point here will not be directly 123. This 123 is the elapsed time, the distance between the start and the end. The start of it, how much became? Became 4. The start of this foundation became 4. So 4 plus 123, 127 will be the last activities, the last unit's starting date. So the line that we're going to draw will start from 4, for sure. Here we'll start from 4. Now we provide 2 days here. Look, we have the buffer, yes, 2 days the buffer zone. Now from 4 I have to add 123, which will be 127. 123 plus 4, because the distance from the start of this line to the end of the line is supposed to be 123. This is what you need to remember, is from the start of this line to the end of the line. So it's 423 will be 127. So in order to do this one, from 127, if I can find it, where is it? That's a, so starting from here, I need to put some values to remember them. So this is 100 here. And this is 400. It's 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. That's 110. Okay, 12. I believe this is 30. 127. This is 128. 127 will be this point here. So this is 100. Forgive me about the values here, they are small. That's 127 here. So if this is 127, I just need to know where is exactly this line for the top one. Remember, the top one will be this is enough to yes. So this will be 127 here. 127. Why 127? Remember, because the difference between the first unit to the last unit should be 123. 4 was the earliest start time, so it will be 127 here. Now, the second part of this one will be easy. Why? Because we have this distance between the two lines, which will be time per operation or the duration, today. So I'll add 2 to the bottom to the top. Now, before doing the second line, we have to check what? At the bottom, we provide 2 days. Do we have 2 days at the top between them? Yes, look at here, 108, 127. We have more than 2 days buffer time. Remember this one. If you add at the bottom, which we'll see it next operation, if we add the buffer time at the bottom, and at the top, if we have less than 2 days, then that drawing will be wrong. The drawing will be wrong. Because minimum, we need 2 days buffer between the activities. So now we have top, we have more than 2 days, the bottom we have 2 days, so we can draw the second line. A second line will have duration of, because the operation has 2 days duration, so if this is 127, this will be 129 here. So we'll have 129, this will be 129. And if this is 129, for sure the bottom will have 6, because it starts with 4. It starts with 4, and it will start at 6. 2 days, finishing will be 6. The second line will be at 6. Remember, 4 is the starting time, 6 is the finishing time, because the duration, the operation needs 2 days, or the duration for the activity is 2 days. The same thing, if the top is 127, the finish will be 129. Now, do we have the buffer minimum at each? Look, all the units that we're doing it, there should be minimum 2 days between them. Take any unit for the finish of the first activity to the start of the second activity, there is minimum 2 days available. So this is okay. We'll go for the third one. So in this manner, we'll continue, yes. But let's say the third one, it will be a bit different because we have different natural rate. Like the natural rate for the third one is bigger than the second one. And remember, the third operation depends on the second operation. Please, this is important to know. It depends on who? It depends on the second operation. So the 6.6 with regarding to 5, it's bigger. Well, if I don't know the information that I explained before drawing, which using the natural rate to see where to start, let's see what will happen. Well, we start with the third activity. The duration is 3, so this is the distance between the two lines. The difference between the two lines, the bottom and the top of the line is 94 days. It will start after the second one, and we have buffer 2 days. So the second one finished at 6. We'll go to the tape drawing. It finished at 6, so I will start at 8. Minimum I have to start at the 8, yes. So I can do this one in easy before drawing it. This is 8. How many days this operation? 3 days. This is the operation. 3 days we have it. We'll draw the line. We'll draw the line from here. But how many days we have to leave? 94 days. Because from here, from the start of this activity, or this unit, to the end, the distance between them should be 94, as it is in the table. So 94, this 94 we have it. The starting of this activity became 8. 8 plus 94, 102. So 102 will be the starting point for the last unit of this for this activity. Well, 108, where is it? 108 will be here, yes. So what will happen? If I draw the line, we'll start from 108. Let me just copy this one. If the line is like this, it will be from 108 and will be linked to to 8. Now this will be wrong in this drawing. Why? Because at a point here, at which unit, at 12th unit, when you get to the 12th unit, and there is no distance between them and they cut each other. What does it mean? It means that at some point that you start the third activity without finishing the second activity, which does not make sense. Why? Because you cannot start the third activity unless the second activity has finished. So why this cut happen here? Why this happen here? Because the natural rate of the third activity is higher than the second activity, which they are depending on each other. So you cannot start from the bottom. What does that mean? We will add the buffer to the top. We will add the buffer to the top. What does it mean? If this is 129, 2 days, so 131 will be the earliest start time. Why? Because for the last activity you're supposed to have again these 2. So you're supposed to have this 2 days buffer. Look, I gave buffer at the top here. At the top. So what happened? I have minimum 2 days at the top. 129 plus 2, 131. So this is now 131. In order to find the start of it, where is it? The start will not be 8. Remember, please. You cannot say, okay, I did this one and the start will be 8. No. The start will no longer be 8. So we'll delete this one here. The only thing that we need is the difference between the start to the end of this line, which we know it's 94 days. From the table, we know that the distance between the bottom to the top is 94. So if the top is at 131, so it's 131 minus 94, you'll find the bottom. So 6 and 31, 37, isn't it? If I start at 37, well, 6 will be there, 31, 37. Yes, if I start at 37 plus 94, I will have 131. Remember, so in the backward, what will you do? In order to find the starting point, you have the distance between them, 94. So I'll say 131 minus 94 will give you, let's say 37 at the bottom. So 37, this will be 37, the start of this activity. Now what happens? Look, you have to wait all of these days in order to start this one. So what will happen? So that for the last activity, for the last unit, the third activity will have the 2 days buffer time. Well, I knew this one before. How do I know this one? Look at here. I told you that if you just check the natural of rate, you know that whether you have to add the buffer to the top or to the bottom. 5.8. 5 is smaller than this one, yes? Look, we remember, please, here all of them are depending on each other. You cannot follow this one unless you check the dependence. This depends on this one. Like you just did the line, this depends on this one. Maybe you have this one depend on this one. So first, just have this in the table to see which activity depends on which activity. Then you can decide whether to start from the top or start from the bottom. Let's say in this case we have it. The relations are basically like this. They are depending in this manner. So if I draw the first one, 5.8 natural of build. The second one is 5, smaller than the first one. I will start from the bottom, which you saw. I start from the bottom with buffer 2, and the top I have more than. For the third one depend on the second one. Well, the second one's natural rate is 5. For the third one is 6.6. It's higher than the second one. Look, I don't care about the first one. Why? Because this is depend on the second one. Remember, it depends on who. Well, if the natural rate is higher than the one that depend on, you have to add buffer time at the top. So you have to reverse method. You will add to the top, then you will use this days here, 94 days, to find the first unit's start date. Here, 7.1. It's bigger than this one, yes? We'll add it to the top because we directly know that if I add to the top, I don't have any problem. 8 is more than 7. I will add to the top. So you will see it now. For the rest of them, I will add to the top and I will have no problem at the bottom. I'll have minimum 2 days at the bottom, at the starting unit. Well, let's do this one. 3 days, it's the duration of it. So we will draw what? We will draw another line with 3 days difference between them. I have this 131, 1, 2, 3 days, that will be 134. At the bottom, same way. If this is 37, 40 will be the end of it. If you start with 37, 3 days, 40 will finish. So this is supposed to be parallel, those two lines, because indication of the same activity. Remember, we prefer to add one line as well here to be a closed box. At least say that this is one activity. This is one activity at the bottom the same way. So, and it's recommended to write those values here. 131 plus 3 will be 134. This will be useful. Why? Because at the top sometimes you can use double if you're using a program, or you can find something which has double axis, will be easier. You don't need to write these things. You have double axis at the top, directly you know what's the time there. Now, remember, what does 134 mean here? If I ask a question, this is the third operation, yes? This is where the top is what? The unit would we have it. Remember, please, understanding this will allow you to answer the question easily. This is the last unit we're creating, the 124th unit. So a simple answer, for the, what is that? That's 137. What does it mean? Or 100, whatever, 134. What does that 134 means? It means the last day for the third operation for the last unit. The last day for the third operation, so this is first, second, third operation, for what? For the last unit. The top is the last unit, which I explained those in the previous videos. How do you answer, or how do you use this line of balance to answer those kind of questions. Then let's continue to get used to drawing better. We'll go for the fourth one, cable arms. The natural is 7.1, depends on this one, it's higher, so I'll start from the top. Buffer, we have 2 days, buffer. This is buffer, it's for all the activities is constant, 2 days between, so I'll leave 2 days. What else I have? 2 days the operation, difference between them 87. Well, where do we start? We start from the top this time. Why? Because I know the natural rate, it's higher than the previous one, so I'll start from the top. 2 days I will leave buffer, 134 will be 136. This is the start. The duration of the activity is 2 days. So this is beginning for the line here. The line we're drawing it here, start from this point, yes. But where to go? Where to go? At which point? We know that the difference between the top to the bottom is 87. So we have to know this value here, which will be 136 here. This is 136. 136 minus 87. So minus 87 will give you the start of the first unit. So I have 36 there, and there will be 13 there. That's gonna be 59 if I'm not wrong. Yes, we have 36 from after 100, and it will be 46, 49. 49 will be the starting date for the first activity, at first unit for this operation. So I'm gonna go and take this one to 49. So this is 49 here. Now after here will be easy. Why? Because you have this duration is 2, so I'll add the same value. I'll draw the line there. It's easier. Let's bring this one here as well. So we have 2 days here, remember? 2 days we have it here. And then you'll draw a parallel line, exactly similar. This will be at 49, and the top will be 138. Look, I have 2 days at the bottom. Do I have 2 days buffer at the bottom? Yes, more than 2 days. Why I know this one will be correct? Because by comparing the natural of rate, I know that I start from the top, I'll get the correct drawing. Well, continuing, we have the last activity, I believe, 1, 2, 3, 4. This is the last activity, the fifth one. The natural of rate is higher than the one it depends on, and it has 1 day duration, 77 between the top and the bottom line. Well, we start again from the top. We'll add 2 days to the top. So if this is became 136, this will be 138. Then we'll add 2 days, will be 140. It's the starting day, and it's only 1 day, so we're having one day duration activity. Here we have it. There will be the line start with 139, and we go down, remember, because of this is 140 here, 140, 2 days buffer we gave here, and the last one will be 141. Well, the difference between the bottom and the top of the line, it's 77, so we'll take 77 out of it. There will be 30 or 23 there, and 40 there will be 63. So the starting point will be 63 for this activity. So this value will come to 63. Look at the bottom, we have more than the 2 days as a buffer. Then we'll continue for the second line, which will be parallel to the first line by 1 day, because the duration of the activity it's 1 day. Remember, the distance between the related lines, indication of the duration. That's it. 141. At the bottom you have the values, so no need to write them down if you're using this scaling here. If you use a graph which has double scaling, which will be much better. Why? Because you don't need to even write the top one. They'll be clear and will make your life much easier. Since you're a civil engineer, you can use Excel to create a table for yourself that has this on the top as well to manage this one easier. So this is the line of balance for this project that we have it here. The line of balance, we have 5 activities, 5 operations, we have 5 boxes, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Remember, 5. And if you check spacing between any of the two, spacing between them, there's 2 days buffer. Remember, if activities they don't depend on each other, you don't need to provide buffer between them. They can cut each other. This is something that when we start with line of balance, we always say that pay attention to these things. This activity, let's say this is A, this is A. If this is B, C, D, E. Like B depend on A, C depend on B, D depend on C, E depend on D. So it depends on D. It means that they cannot cut each other. But if they're independent, they can cut each other, no problem. I mean, you don't need to check two activities with each other when there's no relation between them. There might be parallel activities, we call them in the construction, that you will do 2 activities parallelly without having any problem or relation between those 2. So here we can get some answers. This project will be finished with 141 days. With 141 days we can finish this project. Why? Because the last value here, look, 141 is what? It's the end day, the last day for the last activity of the last unit, which basically means the finish of the project. This is, look, this line here, the end line, it's the finish. For any activities, for any unit, if you want to find the finish time, you use this line. Use this line. This is the line that we need to use. For any unit you want to come at the point, the intersection here, the last one, is the last day of that unit. Remember this, so if you draw it perfectly, it's supposed to follow all the points. If the scaling is correct, this should perfectly, sorry. If this is perfectly over the line here, it will go through the, basically, the scale here, it's not accurate because the boxes here, it's one by one. This point should have been here, so this is due to the scaling happens here. But if you want to find any units, for example, someone is asking you in how many days you will be able to finish, for example, 90, yes, let's say 90 units. So where is 90? 90 will be somewhere here. This is 90. Whatever it's the last point here, for example, this is the interaction. Look, the intersection to the last line. This will be the day that, for example, at this day, which I go down, I'll say that this day will be by the day 120. This is 120. By the day 120, I will finish 90 units. This is what does it mean. For the project, basically, here you have this one finished with 141 day. It's without with the detailing here. So this is the same thing. It's written at the bottom the values we have at A, B, C, D, E, the activities, and the top 141 they will finish all the 124 units. So this is how we draw line of balance. Remember that a lot of detailing required here, the relations, because if you don't have relation between them, it's something will be different. Will not follow one by one. You will start 3 activities at the same time. This is something you have to know. We said for drawing, you start with the first one. Then the one that depends on the first one, you'll check the natural rate. If it is smaller than the one that you drew it, that depends on, then you'll start from the bottom. If the natural rate is bigger than the one that it's depending on, you will start from the top. You will add the buffer time. You will use the elapsed time between the first and the last unit. Then you will draw the line. You will use the duration to draw the second part of the line. In order to understand this, there is this problem here. Another example that you see here, F, G, H, 3 activities start directly after E. Now, B cannot cut A. Remember, we said if 2 activities depend on each other, if the finish, by the way, when we say depend here, if the finish of A is required for the starting of B, so that means that in the line of balance, B cannot cut A. Here, let's say C will not start unless B will finish. So C cannot cut B. D cannot cut C. E cannot cut D. However, when you come here, F, G, H, 3 activities, they start after E. They have the same starting point. Why? Because E finish, I can start any of them. Can H cut G? Yes, no problem. F can cut any of them. I mean, those can cut each other. Why? Because they don't depend on each other. They are separate activities parallel going on in the project. So remember, please, when we said that activities cannot cut each other in line of balance, what we mean the activities that depend on each other. Look, D cannot cut C, E cannot cut D, but those can cut each other, F, G, H. But look, they cannot cut E. because the E activity of E finish required for start of all of these three. So like FGH, you have it here, FGH, so joiner, electrician, and plumber, they depend on glazing. So glazing will finish, and those three will start. It means that FGH cannot cut E in the line of balance. So when you draw this one, you will not, you will have different, I mean up to E you follow, up to E will follow, but when it comes to here FGH, three of them will depend on E. So in order to do this one, imagine like this, you don't have G and H, you just draw F, then imagine you only have G depend on E, you'll draw another one, then H depend on E, you'll do those three similar. Now, what else is important here? I depend on the three of them. Finish, like the three of them should finish, then I will start, yes? So whichever of three are finishing at the top, I mean, one of them will finish basically maybe longer than the other one, or last longer than the other one. So you will take care of three of them first, you'll finish the drawing of three of them, then you can draw I. Because which one will finish at the end, you don't know it. To provide the buffer time between three of them and this one here. Now you have the values here, and then you'll be able, first you have to fill the table, because the table is required to find the values needed for the drawing. I recommend you to do that one, and if you have any questions you can ask me. You can draw it to see, and I'll be able to check for you. So first table, to the table, then there's drawing here. You can use the drawing over here to see whether you'll be able to manage this part here, especially E, F, G, H, I. This part here is important. The other one will be repetitive for you, will be an exercise to see whether if the natural rate is bigger, smaller, you know where to start. Try this. When it comes here, try to see if you'll be able to manage it, to understand using logically the finish of those three required to start of I, then you will understand, plus the buffer time, which will be given here, a minimum buffer of 5 days. Here we have it, 5 days should be assumed. And the rest of the things, we have how many days? 15 houses here. So I have 15 houses to create here, and the rate of build is given 3 house per week, assuming 8 hours per day per week. So we're working 8 hours per day in a week. Then we'll have 5 days here, 5 days per week working, and you'll be able to do the drawing. I believe this is enough for the line of balance drawing. If you have any questions, you can try my email, or you can send me questions from the group. Thanks for watching.